new subject given to me is not intended to confine me, but to indicate the direction in which the speech should, the talk should take place. Will they deliver on the promises? Now the overarching promises that we will deliver high growth. This has been the overarching promise of every government. The BJP NDA is no exception. They made the same promise in 2014 and in every budget thereafter. But as you know, over a period of 5 years, they have delivered 7.5% growth. And even that 7.5% is suspect, as testified by Dr. Raghuram Rajan some months ago, and as testified by Dr. Arvind Subramaniam only 2 weeks ago. But I won't get into that controversy. So what are they promising over the next 5 years? And what are they promising specifically for 2019-20? The economic survey promises 7%. Not even the 7.5 that they achieved over the last 5 years, and certainly nowhere near the double-digit growth that they boasted about 5 years ago. However, and this is important, while the economic survey promises 7%, the budget documents are premised upon an 8% growth. In fact, if you look at the first page of budget at a glance, you will find that they have assumed 8% growth and an inflation of 4% and a nominal GDP growth of 12%. Subject to correction, I have not come across recently a situation where the economics division is projecting 7% growth, whereas the ministry is projecting 8% growth. Now, how will they achieve the 7 or 8% growth? Every economist of international repute and national repute has said we must do structural reforms. The budget speech in 2 paragraphs uses the phrase structural reforms. Maybe there are 1 or 2 places more, but I found them in paragraph 9 and paragraph 24. But a close reading of the budget speech will indicate that there are no structural reforms that are being proposed. In the 5-year NDA, I can point to 2 structural reforms. One is the introduction of GST, and the other is the introduction of the IBC code. Both were structural reforms. I do not find anything comparable to that in the budget speech for 2019-20, nor do I find anything comparable to the kind of structural reforms that were done by the Congress government of Mr. Narasimha Rao and the subsequent governments of the United Front and UPA. I won't go into the details, but we know what structural reforms are, and this budget speech does not have any structural reform. If there are no structural reforms, then it appears to me that they intend to carry on with current policies and yet deliver high growth. Which means they will continue with existing programs, continue with existing policies, and hope to do things better, quicker, so that the output will be more efficient than the output earlier. That's the only way you can do high growth without doing structural reforms. Now, a close study of the budget speech indicates to me that in terms of investment related and major growth promoting activities, I can only find the following. Firstly, there are 300 kilometers of metro, 10,000 crore promised under FAME. Over what period of time is not clear. Certainly can't be 1 year. And accelerating, quickening water transport, movement of cargo along the Ganga River. These are the three concrete growth promoting, growth stimulating programs that I found in the budget. The rest are simply a continuation of existing programs. Hopefully they'll do better, they'll do it more efficiently, but there is nothing new except these things. The next question is, if they are doing these new programs and if they are continuing to do the existing programs, what will be the investment? And where are they going to find the money? Now obviously, there can be only two kinds of investments. One is raising resources within India and then foreign direct investment. Raising resources within India can be through taxation, non-tax revenues, which are then channeled into public expenditure. Then there are domestic savings, particularly household savings, which gets channeled into investment. And there is FDI. Let's take them one by one. Let's start with taxation. There's one quirk I found, but I can't blame the present government because apparently in previous interim budget, regular budget years also the same thing is crept in. The revised estimate presented in the interim budget are copied into the revised estimates presented 5 months later, which I think is an anomaly that ought to be corrected in future. Because if you make a revised estimate in February, 5 months later, we've already got the CGA's annual numbers. So there's no reason to repeat it in the revised estimate presented in July. But anyway, that's a separate issue. So I have taken 2017-18 actuals, 2018-19 numbers given by the CGA, and 2019-20 budget estimates. Let's look at tax revenues. The first period is period A, 2018-19 upon 17-18. The second period is period B, 2019-20 upon 2018-19. Corporation tax. In period A, it grew by 16.17%. In period B, they are projecting a 15.43% growth. Fair, but lower than last year. Income tax. Period A, it grew by 7.1%. In period B, they are projecting a whopping 23.25%. Customs duties. In period A, it was negative 8.6%. In period B, they are projecting a whopping 32%. Union excise duties. In period A, it was flat. In period B, it is 15.55%. 0.38%. In period B, it is 45%. Now, except corporation tax, every other number, to be polite, is suspect. None of these numbers is credible. So where will they get these revenues from? The next source of investment is domestic savings, especially household savings. Now we don't have any projections for 2019-20, quite natural. We have only the numbers of 17-18 and 18-19. In 17-18, gross fixed capital formation was 48,96,000 crore, roughly 49 lakh crore. In 2018-19, it was about 55,69,000 crore, a growth of 13.74%. But the GFCF ratio is still only around 30%. In fact, it was stuck at 28.5 for 4 years. It's moved up in 2018-19. It was, some years ago, as high as 34.5%. So it is a low level of gross fixed capital formation. Unless there are some incentives which are hidden somewhere which will sharply boost domestic savings, I cannot see how this will give an impetus to growth. The last is FDI. The budget speech boasts, and quite rightly, that we got FDI of $64 billion last year. That's correct. Except that, the finance minister missed out a word. It is gross FDI that she's talking about. I mean, to be accurate, she should have said, we got gross FDI of $64 billion. And net FDI was only $43 billion. In 2018-19. Now, I don't know how much FDI they will get this year. It can't be much more than $43 billion because the world economy is slowing down. I don't know how much appetite there is there in the world to invest in India. If US interest rates keep moving up, then of course a lot of money will remain in the US. So I conclude that the boost to growth is not going to come through dramatically higher investment. If the boost to growth does not come through dramatically higher investment, it can only come by greater efficiency. The ICOR must become more efficient. The ICOR must become efficient. Now we know that the ICOR is about 4% at best, 4.5 at the worst. But if it remains between 4 and 4.5, there's not going to be a dramatic rise. Given this level of investment, there's not going to be a dramatic rise in the growth rate. It is investment divided by the ICOR is the growth rate. Either the numerator must go up dramatically, the investments must go up dramatically, or the denominator must come down sharply, must become more efficient. If neither is happening, they all remain more or less where they are, you can expect only the same level of growth. And this I can say, this promise they will achieve. that we will become a 5 trillion economy in 2023, 24 or 24, 25. It's a very attractive slogan. Undoubtedly, a 5 trillion economy is very impressive. But I make another promise. 5 years from that date, 2028, 29, we will become a $10 trillion economy. And 5 years from that date, we will become a $20 trillion economy. And 5 years from that date, I won't be alive, we will become a $40 trillion economy. There's no magic in it. Any moneylender knows this. If your nominal GDP grows by 12% a year, in 6 years it will double. As I said, any moneylender knows this. Your nominal GDP is going to grow at 12%, 8 plus 4 or 7 plus 5 or 7.5 plus 4.5. So it doesn't require a Prime Minister or Finance Minister to predict that your economy will keep doubling every 6 years. Actually, we had a $325 billion economy in 1991 before the reforms started. Then the reforms took place, very difficult period. In 2003-04, we had doubled it to 618 billion. Then again in 4 years, we doubled it to 1.22 trillion, because those were the high growth years, 8.5. Again, we have doubled it in 6 years. In September 2017, it doubled to 2.48. In 17-18, it was 2.65. We have more of the status quo. Growth will be status quo. FDI will be status quo. Domestic savings will be status quo. Policies will be status quo. Programs will be status quo. And we can end on the note, thank God we will not regress, we will remain where we are. We will keep moving along at this sedate pace. What are the consequences of this? The consequences of this is other promises will not be fulfilled. There is a promise to dramatically improve education. It requires massive investment, massive retraining, massive reskilling of teachers, massive infrastructure improvement. Finally, it won't change the lives of the bottom 20%. Fundamental transformation will mean something, and we can be proud of it, only if it touches the lives of the bottom 20%. There's nothing in the budget which touches the lives of the bottom 20%. I wish the budget speech had started by talking about this 20%. It doesn't, and therefore I'm disappointed. This is a status quoist budget of a government which talks reform, but the idea of reform in its head is incremental reform. Just making changes to the margins, moving on at an ambling pace. It is not the kind of structural reforms, radical reforms that this country needs. What we need is radical reforms. The best example of a radical reformer, although he's the most unlikely person if you look at him, is Dr. Manmohan Singh. Those were radical reforms. When we tore up the Red Book, when we abolished licensing overnight, when we got rid of foreign exchange control and that despicable FARA, those were radical reforms. I can't see any radical reform. So there we are, our country, our economy. Let's remain in the status quo for one more year.